Hey everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about percent change, sometimes referred to as percent improvement. And it's really helpful when you have uh, temporal data, so like pre-test, post-test follow-up, or some type of score that you can use as a reference score or a baseline score. That's when we're going to use percent change or percent improvement. It doesn't very often work with like raters, like if I have rater one, rater two, rater three, like a teacher, a parent, and a student filling out a behavioral inventory, like a self-report or something like that. Because who's the reference variable? Is it the teacher? Is it the parent? Is it the student self-report? That's a little more difficult. But when we have something like a pre-test, a post-test, and a follow-up, we have a reference variable. We have a baseline. That pre-test can be the baseline. And so in those circumstances, we can look at percent change. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And in this particular example, we're going to go back to the data that we use in the tutorial about repeated measures ANOVA. This is the desire to express worry. And so the higher scores, the more worry a husband has, and the less likely, so the more stress he has. So maybe as a person gets more comfortable in marriage, maybe their anxiety or stress reduces, and they have less desire to express worry. And maybe as when they're initially married, maybe they have more desire. I don't know. But we can look at this for each individual, but we can also look at it as an average for the group. And what this serves as is a measure of clinical significance. I'll talk about that in a moment. So from here, I'm going to create a column in JASP, and I'm just going to call it percent change and click create column. And I'm going to go to column, computed column definition. And I'm going to say, let's take time for it, 15 years. What percent change happens in the desire to express worry? So we take time for it and subtract it from the baseline, time one, and then divide it by the baseline. And then I click compute column. I can click this off. And so what it's done is it showed me how each person has a reduction from time one to time four. Notice that the first participant had a 3% reduction. The 6% participant has a 15% reduction. And we can even then run some descriptives on this. We can go to descriptive statistics. I can ask for this for percent change. And as I look at this, and we can go, okay, the average amount of change in my data set was 6%. The maximum amount of change was 31%, was 15%. I'm sorry. No, let me say that again. Yeah, so on one end, there was a 31% decrease, but on the other end, there was a 15% increase in the desire to express worry. So isn't that interesting? So maybe we'd want to take a look and just kind of look at some basic plots here, like a distribution plot, and see what's happening. And we can see how much change is occurring across the group. That some people show more stress or anxiety in expressing worry to their spouse, and others decrease. And on average, people decreased by 6%. And so, how meaningful is that? It depends. So, if I'm working with schools and I see a 2% increase in achievement test scores, I'm like, yes, we improved. It's only 2%. That doesn't seem like much, but in educational research, that's a big deal. But maybe in clinical work, if you're working with a client with anxiety and they have a 3% decrease in their anxiety, maybe that's not very much. So the context in which we understand this is really important. So I hope that's helpful in describing percent change or percent improvement.